My feeling is that a lot of the policy changes are targeted particularly towards the Indian community because, as I said, a lot of them are coming on student visas. They tend to work in the same sort of industries. Well, if you look at the number of Indians who are obtaining residence visas under the skilled migrant category, most of them come in as students. Already we've seen that the student numbers have dropped by 38%. We've seen a real campaign by Immigration New Zealand against students and making it harder for them to get work visas. Most of the qualifications are business management, hospitality and IT, and a lot of these industries, they would start sort of mid to high 30,000 a year salaries. They get on to about 40,000, 45,000. Very few of them would get up to that $49,000 limit within the 3 years that the students have graduate work visas. And that's basically how long they have after graduation to try and get a skilled job which will qualify them for residence. And I think it's going to be extremely difficult to get to that 49,000 threshold. It really doesn't matter on anything else. You're basically, if you don't earn 49,000, you're not skilled enough. And so it doesn't really matter. You could have a PhD and you can have lots of work experience. You can have lots of points, fantastic English, but if you're not earning 49,000, you're not skilled. And in the industries which students are working, that's particularly difficult. So it's, retail, hospitality, low-level IT kind of jobs. Very difficult. You have education agents in India who are unregulated, who continue to tell students in India that it's easy to get work visas and it's easy to get residence visas. But the reality is that once they get here, it's extremely difficult. So, and I think the government knows this, which is why they don't regulate the education agents. So they want them to continue sending students, but after they've paid their fees, they want to get rid of them as quickly as possible. It's very bad news for Indian students because I think most of them are being sold New Zealand education on the basis of getting work and getting residency. So they're being sold something which simply doesn't exist because a lot of the qualifications are pretty useless if you go back to India. And if there's no pathway to residency or work visa, then why are they investing money in studying here? Probably 90% of all students from India who come here, they don't come here to get a qualification to take it back to India. They come here to have the opportunity to work and many to obtain residence visas. The Minister of Immigration doesn't understand it, but everybody else in Immigration New Zealand understands it because on their own website they promote study as a pathway to residency. Education New Zealand website promotes study as a pathway to residency, and even Immigration New Zealand in their own letters to students refer to a pathway to residency. So they all know that they're promoting a pathway to residency, but publicly the Minister of Immigration will deny it, which is either means that he's stupid, he doesn't know what his department's doing, or he's lying to the public. And they don't really say whether they're talking about residence or work visas. So for example, on work visas, you can be doing a low-skilled job, but you can continue to get work visas here because there's a shortage of people. But for residents, they've now made it very clear what they mean by low-skilled, and that means anything less than 49,000. A lot of the policy changes are targeted particularly towards the Indian community, and they don't really affect students and workers in other sorts of industries and from other countries. So yes, I think that there's a general anti-Indian bias within government policies at the moment, and I think the reason for that is that because the Indians come here and they work so hard in industries which they're very visible, so retail, service stations, restaurants, these sorts of things, they're seen, and therefore people feel that there's too much immigration because they see Indians working a lot. Really underneath, the government likes having lots of immigration and they appreciate what Indians are providing, but they have to win an election as well, and I think they feel that anti-immigrant sentiment is what's going to win them the election. So all these policy changes and all the actions they're taking against Indians here, I think, is solely for the purpose of getting votes from your average Kiwi and winning election and getting another 3 years in government. This seems to be a worldwide trend at the moment where it's attacking immigrants, and you see that also in America where they really target those immigrants who are most visible, Latinos and now even Indians, but they never tackle immigration coming from white European countries. And as we know from the New Zealand Herald, most work visas are given to people from the United Kingdom, Germany and these sorts of countries, and they remain completely unaffected because they have the right skin colour.